Which piece do you move here? White is winning, but you must pick the correct piece to move. Otherwise, you are going to be left with a draw. Now, your king is over on the side of the board, but you have 2 pawns here, both of which are only 2 squares away from promoting. So, to a lot of people, it will make sense to try and push one of those. If you try to push the d pawn, this looks good because you fork their king and their bishop. But the problem is that they can simply trade it off, and at the end of the day, we are just going to be left with 2 kings, which is simply a draw. So pushing the d pawn does not work. But what about pushing the c pawn? This looks better because now black cannot go ahead and just immediately trade off the pawn. But the problem here is they can run their king in. Now it looks like they are going to be able to capture this, but we can try to stop them for one move by moving our king in to attack their bishop. Now they cannot take because we could simply capture this, but the problem is they can simply move their bishop over to a6, and nothing we can do can ever move their bishop side away from that pawn. This is simply going to be a draw. We cannot make any progress. So instead, the correct piece to move here is actually the king. But now we have the question, where do we move the king? Well, the move that makes the most sense here would likely be moving over to b8 to attack this bishop. But the problem is black can move their king over to defend that bishop, and we actually cannot really make any progress here. If we try moving to d7 to go ahead and attack that bishop once again, they can just trade it off, and this is once again just going to be a draw. And if we try pushing the c pawn instead, yes, we do get this check, but after black moves away, this is initially the same position we had earlier. We are forced to run our king away, and now they can capture this. They can capture that pawn on the next move, and yeah, this is just going to be a draw. And if we try the other move here, king to b6, to try and move our king closer like this, that doesn't work either. King to d8, black simply blocks off the exit, and now we are in the same situation. So the winning move here is actually king to a8, running into the corner. Looks really stupid, but the idea is after black moves their king over to d8, we now play king to b8, and we get the same situation. But it's actually black's turn to move here, and the problem is while they can't move their king away, because then we could just capture their bishop. Instead, they must move their bishop. If they try moving it to a6, which worked earlier, well, in this case now we are actually winning, because what we can do is play pawn to d7. Now we make sure that the bishop cannot return back to that square, and black definitely doesn't want to move their king away, because then our own king can get in. So they are forced to move the bishop for a second time. But now we play pawn c7 check. Black must capture, and now we promote to a queen, and we are winning.